If you are joining us for the very first time at an Unearthodox and the Bloom call, what we typically do is start out with a little bit of a poll to get to know you. So you will see something in the window today which asks, where are you calling from today? And welcome for wherever you are calling in from. I'm in Johannesburg in South Africa. What are you most interested in learning about today? And have you had moments in your journey where you have felt like your idea could fall through the cracks? It's a yes or no answer. I know there's probably much more to say about this one, but this is really for us to get an understanding of, has this been part of your experience where you have really hoped, desired, wished for, worked for support and funding in some way, but your idea is just not getting the attention where you're looking? So yes, please keep, if you're joining, feel free to fill in the poll. We're going to leave it open for a few more moments, and I'm going to do some intros. What's on the agenda today is we've got three primary things happening. We are going to spend roughly about 20 minutes talking about Unearthodox. You'll get an understanding of who we are, what the Exploration Collab is, and in more detail, what is this year's open call all about, which is Edges of Possibility. So we'll spend about 20 minutes on that, but then the majority of this call is for you to be able to ask questions, get a sense of what to expect, what we're looking for in the applications, and if you were chosen as part of the cohort, what you could get out of the 12-month experience. So please post your questions in the chat. I think on the last call we had, which was for Sparks of Regeneration, there must have been more than 50 questions. So post them in the chat, we will organize them, and then we'll spend the majority of this call going through the responses. This call is being recorded so that you can watch it later, share it with others, and for anybody who wasn't able to make it, they can catch up on YouTube. We also have our mailbox available, so if you didn't get your question asked and answered, then contact us please on collab@unearthodox.org. I am Stacey Chasulis. I am in the very fortunate position to be working with Unearthodox to project manage the Exploration Collab, which is called Edges of Possibility in 2026, with an amazing team. And three of the team are here today with us. That's Claire Dusonche, Suja Aya, and Maya Adams. And then I want to also say a huge thank you to the Bloom, who are the reason we are here today. So Letitia and Rangoli, thank you so much for everything that you are doing in the background. You'll hear from Claire after me. Claire is the Innovation Portfolio Manager with Unearthodox. She works across strategy and operations for a host of innovation programs for Unearthodox, and she is amazing from inception through to finding your place in the world as a program. She's an incredible support to innovators and innovations. Sudhya is the Innovation Engagement Manager and anchors Unearthodox's strategic communications initiatives to make sure that the mission and the progress and change is being amplified. And Maya Adams, who is also one of the reasons we're here today, and thank you, the engagement and development specialist with Unearthodox, crafting and executing strategic engagement plans to make sure that all of you are able to find us when you need to and to find support when you need to. So some housekeeping things. Your camera is optional. We would love it if you were on camera because it really helps us as we're going through the Q&A to see who's there, how things are going in terms of the questions landing, you needing any more information. So if you can be on camera, please do, but we understand if you can't. We are together for the next 90 minutes. So please, if you can, try to be as present as you can. Shut down the phone, the notifications. I know it's not always possible. We're going to ask you to stay on mute. And if you've got a question, please pop it in the chat. We're also very much encouraging use of the chat as a dynamic area. So we're looking at participatory listening. We've got sparks of wisdom, which we're going to suggest that you think about doing. I've got an example on the next page, so that you can use this chat for reflection, sharing things that have caught your attention with others, and of course, sharing your questions. So feel free to chat, get to know each other. It should be a relaxed space. Seeds of wisdom. So this is something that has worked successfully on other calls with the Bloom, so we're going to adopt it here. If you have heard one of us say something that has really landed with you in a special way, and you want the rest of the group to also pay attention to it, pop it in the chat with the uh, prefix Seeds of Wisdom. I've used an example from Danella Meadows, who those of us who are embedded in systems change will maybe have heard this quote before, is that we often think about 1 plus 1 equaling 2. We understand 1 really well. We understand 2 really well. But how often do we think about the quality of the end? So it's that connection between people and things and places which creates a bit of magic. And that is something that we hope to harness and spark and do more of on our journeys together. Okay. With that, I am going to hand over to Claire, who will tell us a little bit more about Unearthodox.
Thank you very much, Stacey. And hello, everyone. Thank you very much for carving out time today. It's really energizing to see in the chat where you're all joining from. Really energizing, and I'm very keen to see that there's so much interest around this call. So I'm Innovation Portfolio Manager within Unearthodox, currently based in France in the Alps region on my end. And before we dive in, so I wanted to situate this call, to ground us by sharing a bit more about the why of this initiative, what sparked it, where our work around this comes from, and what we hope it will open up in the end and in the long run. So I'll try to keep it as brief as possible so that we can get generous space for our Q&A and exchanges later. So to start with Unearthodox, for those who are not familiar or less familiar with our work, we call ourselves a thinkubator. So we support bold ideas capable of radically changing the way we care for nature, including people. And we've done that for more than a decade, working with systems work and systems approaches at the core at WWF as the Luc Hoffman Institute back then. And we continue to work and collaborate with innovators, thought leaders, funders who are also committed to deep system change so that all life on Earth can thrive. So our vision is a world, and I think it's next slide perhaps, Stacey. Our vision is a world where diverse and equitable societies value and actively regenerate nature. Our mission is to grow ideas into action together. And next slide, please. So why did we see the need to support bold system innovation? Because from climate change to global biodiversity loss, many of today's complex interwoven challenges are deeply systemic. We know that. But it means that we can't just tackle the tip of the iceberg, tackle the visible symptoms. We must address the trends, the structures, the underlying to create the lasting impact that we want. It means that we can't shift the problems from one area to the other. Also, we've got recent documentations around solar schemes or afforestation efforts where you see the harming impact on the other side of the globe. So it's about responses that must be systemic in this context, and that's what drives this call and our work, our broader work around this fundamentally. And over a decade of practice, we've learned that we need now more than ever to support bold innovations that are transcending the boundaries, that are transforming the systems at their roots. We need more to support more bold innovators, and that's the reason why you're here, who see differently, who see patterns, loops, and connections instead of silos. And we need bold alternative spaces to support them, to support this level of transformation. We also learned live with you innovators, with partners, that too often these bold system ideas are falling through the cracks of support systems that are still traditional. They're seen too risky, too radical, not fitting neatly thematic funding boxes. And bringing these innovations to life demands courage, demands willingness to step beyond convention, which is incredibly hard to do, especially alone. So next slide. So this is from this stance that we launched earlier this year, the Exploration Collab program, which this call is nested under, not as a traditional support incubator, but more of a home for transformative innovation and innovators, for boundary walkers, for field builders, those who are facing various systemic barriers. We wanted a home where we also intentionally center alternative perspectives, non-traditional ones, community-led, indigenous ways of knowing. And we wanted to focus and practice this on values such as care, reciprocity, and practicing deep allyship at various levels. Because we also believe that's how systems are shifting from within as well. We co-created the program with an inaugural cohort of 7 innovators. You might have seen it on the website, ensuring it was reflecting the needs, the aspirations of those ones who are at the forefront of system change. And each open call, such as this one, is meant to become a new cohort within our program, within the longer journey. Next slide, please. Now, to ground this, we've got a core inquiry in this work, in a way, how to nurture transformative innovation, how to nurture transformation, as simple as that, and who. And we've commissioned 2 reports over the last years. Scaling Conservation Innovation, authored by Christina Chaminade, which I really highly encourage you to read. Perhaps we can have it in the chat. And the other authored by the Postgrowth Institute called Nurturing Innovation, Weaving Containers with Care and Courage for Collective Change. Those 2 reports, we're learning from them a lot. And we're learning that from Silicon Valley to grassroots hubs, the default models of incubation still fall short of what transformation needs. It's still very much built for speed, for measurability, for standardization, rather than depth and adaptability. And the result is stark. Transformative innovations often remain invisible and under-resourced. So our research spans 50 plus incubators and accelerators throughout these 2 reports. And the patterns I've noted for you today, it's really clear and very interesting. Most follow a linear, market-oriented path focused on short-term growth and demo day type of outputs. 65% use very much startup-style, market-driven models. Only 12% engage in shifting deeper narratives and cultures, which we call scaling deep. There's a strong global north bias with very limited support in the global south. So our conclusion to date is that real change is not about racing for the exceptional. It's more like around cultivating the conditions, starting with care, reflexivity, and trust. And as we move forward with additional cohorts, starting with the one we have this year, the one we're going to form, and future ones, we will continue this exploration. Applying, sharing the findings in practice, and cultivating relationships across cultures, sectors, to build the synergies that we need with aligned ecosystem partners. Now, I wanted to briefly share with you the so what's of this call. So what's? We want to build a diverse portfolio of bold, visionary initiatives to build this long-term pipeline. But ultimately, we want to surface concrete system change stories so that they can spread, they can inspire, they can help shape the enabling conditions and support ecosystems for more of these pathways, your ideas to thrive, the models. So also very inspired and aligned with this thinking. And maybe we've got one slide, I think I added it. Maybe Stacey, you can find a slide with the innovators actually. One quote that really, I think is aligned with our thinking when we were designing this program, and it's still very much. So from Margaret Wheatley, which I really like, we don't need to convince large numbers of people to change. Instead, we need to connect with kindred spirits. Through these relationships, we will develop the new knowledge, practices, courage, and commitments that lead to broad-based change. So perhaps next slide with the cohort, which is this one, is fine. I wanted to end there. I think system change, at least that was the effect on me a few years ago, it can sound daunting, yet the biggest leap isn't always fast or loud. It can be small steps. It's often stillness. It can be deep listening, holding questions differently, connecting dots in a different way, weaving unexpected connections. And to make this tangible, I wanted to end with introducing you with our brilliant inaugural cohort that we formed this year. Very diverse in place, in disciplines, in stages. You might know some of them who referred you to this new initiative. And yet they were very aligned, and they are very aligned in their shared commitment to rethink our relationship with nature as humanity. And this group is, to me, a living demonstration that concrete pathways are possible. It demystifies it in a way. So I won't introduce everyone in detail, we don't have the time, but I just wanted to give you a feel for the richness of this group and what's possible. Olivia, for instance, really believes that a green transition is only possible if security, stability, and sustainability are seen as parts of an interconnected system. She works at the intersection of planetary security, global governance, eco-technologies, and she focuses on preventing and mitigating the risks tied to global competition over renewable and non-renewable resources. She works on the establishment with us, with this program, on a new institute focused on anticipating those implications to navigate them. She's not a peace builder, she's not an ecologist, she's not a diplomat. Well, she's all of that. So voilà, so that's Olivia. We've got Ulrike as well. Ulrike operates at the crossroads again of conservation, immersive tech, urban inclusion, and animal ethics. He's working on a future zoo that replaces live animal displays that we know with non-extractive, emotionally resonant experiences, widening access to nature for city youth, for instance. And by connecting conservationists, technologists, ethics, advocates, he's building a new field. He's a field builder where empathy and innovation reinforce one another. And I could go on. Wakani revives indigenous wisdom in schools' curricula, translating Ubuntu philosophy into everyday kind of curricula. Gal uses AI to spark empathy with the more than human world. Samyukta, she leads dark sky conservation and culturally rooted astrotourism in Kenya. We've got Sarah, who weaves she's based in the Philippines, who weaves partners for resilience and regeneration with communities. And Gautam, who builds digital public engagement tools that convert awareness into measurable environmental action at scale through deep empathy for nature. So across this cohort, complexity is seen as a resource and alternative perspectives are central. They are really field builders and weavers who show us that system change doesn't have to be necessarily sensational. It can be subtle, can be relational, and even quiet, yet deeply transformative. So I'll stop there, but these are the pathways we aim to give visibility to elevate now in the future cohorts, so they're visible, supported, and able to grow what's possible. So I'm very, very excited about the bold ideas that you're going to bring to the mix that you'll propose. And thank you. I'll stop there. Over to you, Stacey.
Thank you, Claire. That emotional piece is so significant. I had the opportunity to experience parts of the Future Zoo through Ulrico last week, and I used the VR headset to be able to see a wildlife vet taking care of an elephant, and I was able to really, I mean, it's like I was a meter away. And I was really able to experience it in a different way that I otherwise obviously would never be able to. And I really felt quite emotional afterwards. So thank you for taking us through those examples. We are very pleased to have just launched the open call for Edges of Possibility. So now you've got a sense of Unearthodox, what we're hoping to be able to support through Edges of Possibility. And I'm going to take us into some of the more practical pieces. Hopefully, you are feeling interested in applying or at least curious to go through the application form. So, I will leave this slide deck to go through the website and show you a little bit about where to find information about who we are looking for, what the evaluation criteria will be, so that you can prepare your application as best and most relevant as possible. And then I will take a quick look through the application portal before we go to the rest of the session, which is questions. Now, so that you don't have to multitask, I am going to take a pause for 20 or 30 seconds while I get onto the website. And please use this time to maybe absorb and to consider any questions that you'd like to post in the chat. So I will be silent for a short time. Okay, I hope that was enough for you to at least formulate a question, if not pop one into the window. When you visit the Unorthodox website, to find more information about Edges of Possibility, please visit our work and our programs, and you can go down to our current programs. In the center, you'll find Exploration CoLab. That will lead you to information about Edges of Possibility. We opened the open call a week ago. It will close on the 25th of November. I would encourage you to get started on your application as soon as possible. It will save as you go, but the questions I think are quite deep and quite expansive. So you may feel like you want to come back and add a little bit more. So yes, I would not leave it till the last minute if possible. You will visit this page. You will find out more information about the Edges of Possibility open call. We are really looking for people who are bold, but not always bold in a conventional way. Could be bold in a quiet way, alternative in some way. You you would find a space here where you don't have to explain why you see the world differently because you would be amongst others who are experiencing the world differently. So, as Claire mentioned, the idea of systems change is really what we're looking at, but try not to feel like this is a daunting request. Systems change, as Claire mentioned, can be quiet, it can be small, it can be unconventional. It lays the groundwork and creates a pathway for others who are moving in the same space alongside you and after you. So I would think creatively about systems change. If you feel like your project is making change in a place, but also can have some longer term impact, go through the process. Our timeline is as follows. So we are here today, the webinar with all of you. We are closing the open call on the 25th of November, and that will be at midnight, Central European time. Um, the We will then go internally and we will do a number of rounds of screening, of evaluation, and we will bring in an external jury who will have a look at the ideas. There's always multiple eyes on an application, so that different perspectives are coming in, and these are very, very well considered. Our goal will be to choose 7 people to go into the cohort in January, and that will also be announced in January. And that will really be where a lot of growth, connectivity, exploration will begin. What is on offer? You will be able to refer back to this on the webpage. So 10,000 Swiss francs to help move your idea into action. Access to a shared pool of up to 60,000 shared francs, and this is Swiss francs, and this is where things become customized according to where you are in your journey. There are a number of different types of we call support blocks, coaches and mentors who will be able to support you on your way from a whole host of things: how to go about fundraising, how to go about building your brand. I know that a number of the coaches are on this call today, so it's nice to see you. And you would be able to tailor your experience depending on where you're at. You might need more in one area, less in another area. And that's something that we will do with you to organize your year. And there will be lots of peer-to-peer knowledge sharing, inspiration. This is a small enough group that you can get to know each other really well, share your experiences, bounce ideas off each other, really form close relationships, and hopefully it leads into working together in some form. It will be a 12-month journey beginning in January 2026, ending in December. You will also get support through Unearthodox for visibility and amplification of your work, where you've been, what you're focusing on, what you're planning to do in the future, and you as a change maker, as an edge walker, as somebody who sees the world in a different way. And then, as I mentioned, the community and collaboration piece. So who is this call for? We've established you're an edge walker, you're a change maker. Your idea is also something that we need to talk about. So we're looking at something that's in motion and something that is early stage. So what we mean by early stage is not completely conceptual. You need to have done some type of exploration, and that set your progress in motion in some form. You could also be at a later stage and really looking for support in how to significantly change direction. That is also something that we would be able to support with. So yes, as Claire mentioned, if this sounds like you, even if your journey has been very internal, it's been in a very singular place and it's been going deep instead of broad, this is still definitely worth you looking at. Some prompts are on this page, which we would invite you to at least start to think about before you get into the application. What future is your idea helping us to push towards? And what is it helping us to push away from? How does it encourage people to see, act, or connect, or live in different ways? How does it challenge current systems and norms to help all life on Earth to thrive together? What conditions might this transformative work need to flourish? That helps us to understand whether this incubation process is something that is going to be beneficial to you. And what deeper purpose connects you and others working in this space on this type of problem? There's this deep allyship approach, this radical allyship approach that we're taking. So it would help us to also understand how you would approach working with others, learning with others, exploring. We're not looking for projects that just touch on the surface level symptoms, projects that are really all about speed, growth, or profit. I think we're all here because we're looking for a different type of impact. So you can also find a very exhaustive, well, not exhaustive, but a very detailed list of FAQs to explore further. Please also have a look at the terms and conditions and feel free to ask us questions on this call. And if you need anything at all, contact us at the collab@unearthodox.org mailbox for anything that we might not have covered today. And you can also find the research that Claire mentioned at the end of this page. So if you click on this link, it goes into a lot more detail about eligibility and selection criteria. Just a few things that I will mention. You would need to please be over 18 years of age. The application is, we ask for you to complete it in English because the incubation process is in English, but we are not looking for perfect responses. We're looking for clarity. We're looking for understanding why your idea can make an impact and why it has this link into systems change and transformation. But you absolutely would not need to produce something that is perfectly written if English is not your first language. We will be evaluating applications based on 5 criteria. So the first is systems orientation. This is weighted at 25%, and we're looking for ideas that address root causes and systemic patterns, not symptoms, as I mentioned. Nature Society vision at 25% weighting. So here, and this is really important, does it clearly link ecological outcomes? So we're looking here at benefit to nature, a living system, the environment in some way, linked with human well-being, social justice, or rights-based approaches. Does it push boundaries? Also weighted at 25%. An idea that proposes radical shifts, not incremental tweaks. What is the transformational intent? And this is more about your orientation. Are you ready to engage in deep allyship with those whose work and desire for change also flows across and beyond conventional boundaries? And are you an edge walker? What is your approach to embracing risk, experimentation, taking the road less traveled? Okay, I hope this helps. Once you are ready to apply and you have gone to this application link, you will be able to see, I'm just making sure that my screen is sharing effectively. Yes, you will be able to see this application form. You won't have as many applications open as me probably because I've been testing. So you'll likely have one box, create a new application. This application form will probably take you anything between 60 and 90 minutes to complete. As I mentioned, you can stop and go back. Your progress will automatically be saved. So there's a few fields to fill in. We will ask you about 11 questions about your idea. This is a very high level overview for us to get a sense of what it is, your direction of travel, what impact you hope to make. Then we will go into 7 questions about your idea in more detail, and that is where you would have the opportunity to respond to the evaluation criteria more directly. There is a section on eligibility and disclaimers, checking a box to say I am over 18, etc. And then a personal form. This will help us to reach out to you when the time is ready, but we don't consider it when we are looking at the other criteria. So it is a blind evaluation. You are anonymous throughout the process until we get right to the end. And you will have an opportunity to put in 2 team members. These are team members that you work with closely. They would not be involved day to day in the incubator. That would be you. You would choose a lead, and they could help you fill out the form. They could help you edit it and refine it. They would also be able to experience certain activities in the incubator, but not be the primary person that's taking part. That's just one. I will quickly scan down here and then we will move into the Q&A. So your idea title, you would be able to fill in up to about 15 words. Make it descriptive and compelling because this is something that we will use throughout the process to talk about your idea. Your idea at a glance, this is a really critical section. It helps us to understand what are you doing in simple terms. Please make this as clear and basic as you can. And then your executive summary. This is where we'll be able to get a sense of, with slightly more depth, what are you doing? How is it going to be implemented? Who is involved? Where is it taking place? And we will ask you at what stage of development best describes your idea. Is it early stage? Are you busy prototyping? Are you established but looking to shift direction? And if you're not sure, or if it relates to another stage, please select that and then give us a little bit of information next. So I think this form is fairly self-explanatory. What I will say is you will have, for most of the detailed questions, up to 150 words. You don't need to use all of that space, but please take the opportunity, if you can, to tell us what else exists that is similar to your project, your idea, and how are you distinct from that? Because that it really does help us to understand what is quite different about what you're offering and innovative about your particular approach. What makes you an edge walker? So when you are ready to submit, you will not be able to undo or you will not be able to edit. So please take the time that you need. Feel excited about the process, I hope. It's such important work, and we are all really excited to read a little bit more about what you're doing. I'm going to stop there. I'm also going to pause for a few more seconds to give everybody an opportunity to add in their last, well, not last. We've got time together. You can add more questions, but I'm going to pause so that you can add in your first round of questions. And I've not been watching the chat, so I'm sure there's lots of activity there.
It's vibrant, Stacey.
Good. I'll just give a few more seconds and then I'll start going through the questions. Okay, I am going to begin. So I will start with a question for me, seeing as I have the mic. If we have applied for Sparks of Regeneration, can we also apply for the Exploration Collab, given we are very well aligned, and have another co-founder to deeply engage in this cohort? Can we apply with the same team and project? So the short answer is yes, you can apply. Um, we are running across a similar timeline. So even though when you go through the application form, it may feel like a lot of the information is quite similar, but we would encourage you to really try and make your application quite distinct from Sparks of Regeneration. So yes, nothing stopping you from applying to both. It increases your chances of getting through. But think about that systems piece and also the piece around how you relate to others in radical allyship. What makes you the edge walker that we're looking for? We have another question. Um, can we receive funding through an EU fiscal sponsor? Claire, may I pass that to you?
Thank you, Stacey, and thank you for this question. I may ask you a bit more, I have to say, on the chat, if possible, to expand this one, and I can respond to this after.
And this was from Robert. So Robert, if you don't mind adding a bit more information, I'll go to
Exactly.
another I'll go to another question and then we can come back to that, Claire, if that's okay. Must the applicant be a non-profit or are both acceptable? Claire, I'll pass that to you too.
My answer to this one is that currently the cohort I've introduced to you, we've got a representation of various organizational profiles. We've got for-profits, non-profits, charities registered in the UK, for instance. So we've got a representation. There's no blocker at this point. So we're keen to hear from you. I'll stop there, I think.
Thank you. We'll give Robert a little bit more time. So I'll go to a question for me. Um, what type of scope are you looking for? Local, national, international? Um, Zar Soraya, it's everything. So we know that systems change can start small and lead to something much bigger. So in all of the above, I think is the simple answer. Nothing is excluded here. The change is so much easier to see and experiment with if it is place-based and can often have so much of a deeper impact. Um, we're also very interested in low technology ideas that, and this is an and, as well as the types of ideas that you would typically see in an incubator, low technology ideas, ideas that really consider place-based ancestral knowledge, different ways of knowing and being than what we would typically see day to day in incubators. So the scope is very wide. The scope can also be very specific. So anything applies. I hope that answer helps, but please tell me if it doesn't.
Thank you very much. Yes, it does. Great.
Okay. Um, shall we go back? Claire, was that enough time for Robert to add some more
Yeah,
information?
thank you. I'm reading. Thank you, Robert. It does look like it would be an okay yes, I have to say. So I can't commit to a full yes, but we need to check internally. But from what you're saying here, I wouldn't see any blocker. Um, yeah. So what I can do, if you want to share that over email, perhaps, and we can confirm if you want.
Thank you. I will take this next question. Are we also looking for new ideas that haven't been launched yet, or only for existing initiatives? This question was from Dawn. Um, Dawn, new ideas that haven't been launched yet are perfectly acceptable, but we would ask that you've done some exploration, understanding of what this idea can do next, what it can achieve. It needs to have been something beyond a concept, an idea in your mind, and research done in practice. So, yes, I think there's also a similar question around this. Yes, you need to have done some research, started collaborating with a local community, something that is helping it to become real in the world, even if that is at its early stages. That is where we are well equipped to help you work through that process. I'll take another one. I have two projects I work on simultaneously. Can I apply for each separately? This is a very good question. We would ask you to apply with one. Um, if perhaps you are collaborating on your second idea with someone else and you're comfortable with them applying as the lead applicant who would take part in the process, then you can apply uh, with that idea too. But we would just ask that it is one one project with one lead applicant, and then if you've got a second project, a different person is the lead. Um, I am going back to Claire. If we are a team of two, how can we make sure that we profit equitably from this program?
Oh, that's an interesting question. This will be all part of the design, and we love to design with the cohort in place. So basically, we've got a kind of an idea of where we want to go, but we also leave intentionally flexibility in terms of the program, the attendance. So I would hope that we extend to two, either even three people from each team so that they can join and benefit from it. So that it's not on just one lead and there's not the creator syndrome sometimes going on. So this is where we want to go. And this is what we would hope to co-design with the cohort so that it's meaningful and so that it can expand the value. And yeah, so I'll stop there.
Thank you. I'll send another one back to you. Are you looking for ideas beyond nature? For example, ideas that involve people on care, solidarity, wellness, using holistic and indigenous methods.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe Stacey, you can refer here to what you presented, right? The Nature Society um, crossroads. Maybe that could be a good answer. If you can perhaps go back to this.
Yes, absolutely. So there is this interest and appreciation for different ways of knowing and being and living in the world, and that orientation will have a knock-on effect for how we relate to the living systems around us. So I think this question was from Beratina. The short answer is yes, we are interested in it because it allows us to relate to the world in a different way, which will, I think, change an appreciation for how we interact with human systems, more than human systems, other than human kin. So yes, please do send those in. Feel free to add Sudha Claire if there's more to say there. I am going to ask you to think about this one, Claire. If we are in an early stage and don't have a legal organization yet, is it possible to apply?
My answer is yes, absolutely. And we can help you. Uh, so it depends on your stage, I think. It's what counts, like the stage of your idea. As you've mentioned, Stacey, really being clear on what is a problem, what are the problems you want to address, not being at this conceptual stage where you still need to understand the landscape and start from scratch. So as long as there's an idea in motion, it's open. Yes.
Thank you. We have got a question around, will we be disqualified? If this is for the groups that are thinking about applying to Edges of Possibility and also have applied to Sparks of Regeneration, will we be disqualified from being chosen for Edges of Possibility if we are chosen for Sparks of Regeneration? So at this point, we would say that we would want to reserve the seats for those that have not had an opportunity to be supported over the course of the 8-month process with Sparks of Regeneration. So please apply to both because it increases your chances of being chosen, but you wouldn't be able to participate as a lead on the two programs. If in a situation where you were collaborating and you were a lead in one and your partner was a lead in another project, if you're collaborating in the background, but you've got two different leads participating in the two different programs, I would say that is the situation that would be fine. Okay, we've covered quite a lot. Let's see what else is here. I would like to know more about the schedule and the activities throughout the program. How much time, weekly or monthly, and what kind of outcomes are expected from the participants? Claire, I will bounce this to you because I know this is something that you're very much in with the current cohort.
Thank you, Stacey, and thank you for this question. My answer would be, in terms of the outcomes, it will be around, and we're working on this with our monitoring, evaluation, and learning experts. So will be around confidence. It will be around critical connections. This is what we're going to measure. And ultimately, we want you to be more findable and fundable in the end. So it just means that we're going to go through various layers of coaching and mentoring so that we achieve that, so that we help you, move forward on this journey, being more visible, meaning more fundable, but also getting the confidence and the critical connections. And as I mentioned earlier, I really believe in critical connections over critical mass. So I'm hoping that this will be the outcome that you feel if you're part of this cohort. So yeah. In terms of
Um,
commitments, which was the second part, and time engagement, right? We are learning with this current cohort, which was the inaugural one. We are forcing something around along like 4-6 hours per month max, I would say. And this entails group sessions, but also one-on-ones. And we are looking at replicating some of the support blocks that went really well this year, but also opening up some blocks so that it's flexible and meets this cohort specific needs so that it's always adaptive. So 4 to 6 hours a month could be my answer.
Thank you. Claire, the second part of this question I'm going to answer, and then Sudha, I might ask you to come in too, because I'd really love the group to hear from you about the process of your support helping the cohort to become findable and fundable. But before I'm giving you time to think about that, before you do that, I want to say the second part of the question was, is it online or on site? So it is fully online. Previously, there was one opportunity to meet in person, which we will be replicating in the next cohort too. But for the purposes of the ongoing engagement, day to day, month to month, it is fully remote, fully online. Sudha, over to you.
Oh, thank you, Stacy. Yeah, that's an excellent question. I think what we would be doing as part of making the innovators findable and fundable is as part of the incubation program, supporting with narrative building, with being able to tell your stories in a way that makes it more findable and fundable. Also supporting in terms of amplifying through our own personal channels, supporting in terms of the common pool might also include brand building, narrative building, connecting all with podcasts and other ways in which your work can be amplified. Also supporting in terms of looking at which media houses would help make your stories come forward. So those are some of the things we'll be doing. And Joanna is here with us. She put a message on the group. She's someone who supports us with building these narratives for the community, for the innovators. So we have a group, a selection of coaches, handpicked selection of coaches who will be working with each of the innovators and making sure that you get custom made and, kind of support to build your profiles and build your brand and build your narrative. So that's something that we'll be doing and ensuring that you're findable and fundable.
Thank you. I'm sending two questions Claire's way. Is an individual without an organization working with communities allowed to apply? I don't think I read that out very well, so I'm doing it again. Can an individual who's working without an organization but is working with local communities, are they allowed to apply?
Yes, and please do share with me over email more, details about the country maybe and things like that so that we can confirm 100% if you want.
Thank you. And then can the funding be used for anything, or are there restrictions?
May I take this one? Because I like this one, having been working with in different spaces with institutional donors and governments. Here, there's a flexibility, which I think is a really great opportunity, as long as this grants amount supports the mission, the objectives, you can do it, and it's okay. So I think that's really this level of flexibility that you really need to appreciate here. So it can be from a laptop to a joining a conference. We won't look into this level of details because this is your project. What we're going to track and check with you on specific points, it's whether or not your overall project is advancing and the impact that you want to have is, in progress. So this is what we're looking for. Yeah.
Thank you, Claire. And this flexibility can be quite rare. So the example that I'll add to that, which I really love, is one of the members of the current cohort, Samyukta. She is working on a way of helping people to appreciate the dark sky, the night sky. And she's based in Kenya. And one of the things that is essential infrastructure to her is a vehicle to be able to get up to where it is just so dark, away from light pollution. And so that is what she has been able to use part of what she's received for. So yes, thank you for that explanation, Claire, and I hope the example also helps. A question that we knew would come up: what are the differences you see with Sparks of Regeneration and this open call, Edges of Possibility? So Sparks of Regeneration, the theme will be changing every year. The current theme is regeneration, but next year it will certainly be something different. Whereas Edges of Possibility is going to remain fixed on systems change, and we will continue to look for people that are unconventional, on the edges, working across boundaries. This is something that is hard to find. So it's something that is quite unique, and hopefully people can come back to and be able to see the change, the success stories, how it has helped. But Sudha and Claire, feel free to add to that.
I want to leave space to Sudan. No, it just articulated really greatly. And I think the regenerative future is one, the sparks of regeneration. The focus is connectivity, because there's one theme, there's one deeper aspiration to move, to progress in a domain, a space, an arena, which is regeneration. Whereas here, it's intentionally open, so that we talk about system transformation without any specific limitations, I would say. So it's connectivity for the first one and transformation for this one.
Thank you for that addition. Here is a practical question about the application form. Is the person filling in the application form automatically going to be the one incubated, or can we appoint another team member? So thank you. That is a very important question to ask. You will be able to nominate a team lead or a lead team member, and that is the person that will go through the incubation process. By adding another couple of team members, you can all collaborate on the application form. So the person going through the process is team lead. This is a question that is fantastic and so important, and I will take it too. Can I answer some of the questions in a more non-linear, neurodivergent friendly format, such as a mind map? Secondly, are those unable to write, sorry, I'm struggling to see part of this question here, write or type much, allowed to submit video answers? So the mind map example, there is space for you to upload supplementary information, so please do go ahead. Use whatever tools you need to be able to express your idea and your approach in a way that feels suitable to you. If we need to, we may reach out for clarifications, but we would welcome you to do that. Can we submit video answers? We will need to come back to you on that because I'm not 100% sure whether the platform allows for it at the moment. There might be a way you can upload a link. So there might be a way for you to host a video and then send us a link to it, but allow us to come back to you about that. And again, I will welcome Sudha and Claire to add in case there's anything else I hadn't considered here.
No, absolutely. I think the yeah, you can use any tool you want, like Stacey just said, to be able to express yourself. I think there's space to upload additional documents if you need to, other than answering the questions. So please feel free to do that as well. Um, Video, like Stacey said, she'll let you know if it's possible to do that. I think it is, from what I know from the previous application, but I think Stacey, we'll put it up in the FAQ, so we will add the information on our website.
Thank you, Sudha. How much emphasis, if I'm gonna open this up to all, I might comment on it first. How much emphasis, if any, is placed on integration of hard technologies, for example, the use of AI products, etc., in the process of outcomes? I will start with AI related to the application form. So there's not a restriction from our side on you using AI to create your application form or to support you in your completion of the form. But what we will say is that through very recent reviews and evaluations, we noticed lots of similarities between applications and a lack of originality between applications. And our hypothesis is that is because of the use of AI. So we would encourage you to limit it, use it where you need it, but try and be as personal, original, from the heart as you can, because that will really help bring to life what you're aiming to do, how you're aiming to go about it in a much more distinct way. And that is why I think we really emphasize the point about if you're not confident writing deeply in English, don't aim for perfection, just aim for authenticity. And we take that into account when we do the reviews. Now, when it comes to the use of the technologies in the program, I'm going to ask Claire to chime in.
Yeah, thank you. If I understand correctly, the question, there's no specific emphasis on a technology or not technology. There's no specific emphasis. Really, like what counts, what matters is how it contributes, how the approach contributes to system change, how it shifts relationships, narratives, structures that shape a connection with nature. I think that's what we need to stick to. And we've seen that technology in the cohort I've introduced. It can be a powerful enabler to connect with nature when it's used thoughtfully and ethically. So this would be my answer. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we may have covered all of them. I'm just having another look. Oh, let's go back to one that we may not have gone into enough detail about. How does the program define early stage versus some traction? The project I'm working on has research and planning behind it, but we need funding to begin piloting it. Claire, can I send that question to you?
Yes. Yeah, thank you. And thank you for this question. I know it's something that's depends, also varies from one organization to the other. I think here we're looking for coherence, and we've learned how it's important to form a coherent cohort. With this one, you might have understood it's intentionally open, it's theme agnostic. So the coherence in terms of the stage where you are as innovators somehow is important more than in other programs. So why we've put that here, this idea of in motion, I think because our experience tells us that if you are at the conceptual stage where you are looking at the problem, you are at the problem recognition phase, you're researching, interviewing, looking at opportunities, this requires a very different type of support. And this is not the type of support you're going to find with this program. So this is the reason why we're inviting people who are a bit more advanced than just landscaping, problem recognition, and identifying opportunities. You should have already identified the contour of this project. It should be kind of solid, how it adds to the current noise, how it complements, how it brings something different from what is already existing. So this is why, where we're coming from, the support you're going to get is not going to be a fit. We're not hand-holding you in terms of ideation spaces, for instance, with others. This is not the type of support you're going to get. So I'm hoping it clarifies a bit further. And thank you for this question. Happy to to deep dive over email if needed.
I'm seeing a couple of others that I'd love to comment on. For the ecology impact, are behavioral impacts on people related to a place-based program considered? Yes. That is something that it would be very interesting to look at in your application. That is something that is relevant for the cohort. We would also ask that you give some thought to any unintended consequences of the work and name those if you can foresee them and tell us how you would plan to mitigate those. And then, Claire, I'm going to ask you to chime in again. What are the kinds of outputs you're hoping to see from the program?
I might go back to what I shared in intro, if that's the level of the question, but really creating concrete system change stories. Because people, tell us it's complex, even though it's jargony, it's difficult to access. How about we create concrete inspirations that can really inspire and help shape different conditions for your ideas to thrive even more. So if that's the level of the question, this would be my answer.
There's the interesting piece about the change that can result from the project having more support and more space to come alive in the world. There's also the additional systems change piece, which is around demonstrations of what happens when you support a project that is experimental, that is a little bit risky, that is a little bit unconventional. Maybe it creates more appetite for risk and experimentation in other programs with other investors, with other funders. So yeah, it's the specific focus on your program, it's the impact on the system, but then it's also the impact on this whole innovation space that is something that's really important about this program. I'm having a quick look at whether there's anything else we need to cover. Here's one. If we consider a scale of physical deployment, for example, from grassroots on-the-ground work to strategy frameworks or policy guidelines aiming to influence physical projects, where would your desired applicants land on this scale? I would say there's no specific place on the spectrum. I think if you were working on any of these pieces, or you could influence all of these pieces, that is something that we would consider. This cohort by design will ideally, as a group, influence different things, and allow the group to learn from each other because they are doing different things. So again, I'll welcome Claire and Sudha to chime in because there may be something else more specific there, but I would say any of these pieces is fine.
I absolutely agree. I think any of these pieces is fine, or all of them. There are no specifications, as long as it's looking at it from a systems perspective.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody for the emojis in the chat. It does help to know that the answers are landing okay. I think we might have covered them all. I'm just quickly checking. Oh, another good question, a practical one. In the application, do we need to give an idea on how we would spend the initial grant, since this would be a result of the incubation process? I would say that the specifics will happen a little bit later in the process once there's a shortlist and a further discussion. Claire, what would you say?
I think you've absolutely shared it the way I would have shared it. It will come later, but obviously the more you can give us at the application stage in terms of, what's your idea in practice, things like that, that could give us already a rich understanding. Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. If you know how you would spend it, definitely do add it. Here's another very practical question. So can we be quite specific? What is considered enough traction? We would love to be further along, but we're only able to do scoping and research until we receive funding. Is there a definition of what types of research would qualify as sufficient traction? Claire, could I ask you to take that question?
It can take various forms, to be honest. It can be interviews, it can be, even support letters from partners or people you've met who believe in your idea, in your approach. So it can take really various forms. What I've mentioned earlier, I think it's important for you to just consider whether or not you're clear on the problems, the systems you want to operate within, and so that you don't expect the support to handhold you in this process. So really being with this idea in motion already, not just at the research kind of mapping stage. You like demonstrations that you've been engaging with others, testing with others, putting things into motion. Yeah. Various forms. And you can be creative with that, I believe.
We've got another request for elaboration, and thank you for these. Can you elaborate on individual versus organizational affiliation when applying an idea development? So you can be a solo change maker or a solo entrepreneur, and some of our current cohort are. So that I hope helps. If you are working independently, alone, apply. Equally, if you are part of an organization, please apply. To what extent do we need to describe the specific organizational form we believe our idea should take and the team members that we think we should involve, rather than focusing on explaining the idea itself? This is one of those situations, again, where more is more. So if you know the form or if you have a hunch about what form it should take, it would be good to include it. If you need a space as a sounding board or you need some support with that, that is part of what the incubation process would do. So yes, if you have an idea, please include it, but there will be no penalties for you not including it. Yes, we will give out a recording of the session. I know somebody's asked that. Okay, I think this might be it.
There's
Is
one
there anything
question. There's one question just came in. It says, and I think I'm going to ask Claire this question. How much do you expect the project to change from what may emerge during the cohort journey?
It's embarrassing. I'm gonna reply again with a very open response, but actually, as long as it's tracked, understood, documented, and we're with you, we're very happy with the pivots. We're very happy with even fundamental realizations, and actually this project is not how you want to approach these problems. So we are very open. The thing is, we need to do that with you, and so that we have specific check-ins, and we discuss that with you, we reflect on that with you, and we also make some recommendations around your pivots along the way. So it's like a dance, and we're very open in that way. We do have a risk tolerance for this cohort as well. So hence this idea of engaging, inviting boldness and radical ideas. This is the space and this is the opportunity to test this out. And if at the end you want to completely pivot, if it's documented, then for us, it's a positive ripple anyway. So yeah.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to be wrapping up. I'm deliberately pausing in case there's a last minute flood of questions. So I'll say what happens next. We will load this recording to YouTube. We will send out a link via the Bloom. Thank you for everyone who was here. I know how hard it is to make an hour and a half available in a day. So you will be able to replay it. If you have somebody near and dear that you think should also watch it and take part, feel free to share it. And of course, you know where to find us, collab at unearthodox.org if you have questions. And we just hope this application process, if you choose to take it, also gives you lots to think about. We hope we formed the questions in a way that are going quite deep into the process. Some part of the richness of this is asking yourself different questions in different ways. So, yes, I hope this has been clear enough. I hope this has encouraged more applications. We've got another poll app, so we would love it if just before you dropped off, you took a little bit of time to complete this poll. And of course, all feedback is welcome. Claire, are there any parting words?
Just that this is an opportunity to test things out and to be with like-minded fellows. Regardless of your sector, your domain, you'll find people who are also like navigating really tough, difficult systemic barriers. And it's really like, it's mind-blowing to observe how this cohort has evolved over the last months. So we hope to replicate that with a second one. So yeah. Thank you all for joining and for your interest, for all the hearts. It's very, very rewarding. Thank you.
We are really excited to get to know you better through the applications, and let's hope it's not the last time we speak. On to more. Thank you.